Let's explore a little bit more with the events tab. We've talked, I'm going to go down my events here. We talked about how you always start with a green flag. So let's pull that up. And I'm going to make the program do a few changes as different events happen, as different keys are pressed, things are clicked, that kind of thing. So first thing, I'm going to pull up a new background. So I'm going to go over here to the far right where it says backdrops, and I'm going to add one. And we'll just pick something. I'm going to actually put the cat in the baseball field in a minute, but I think I'm going to start with the Arctic. Just that was the first thing I saw. So I just kind of want an opening screen. So when I start the program, I want it to go to this particular backdrop, and I'm going to just add this baseball field for my second one. So if you click on the backdrops now, you instead of the costume part here, you're going to see backdrops on this part. And you can see the different ones. I'm going to get rid of this blank one. I don't want that anymore. You can just always trash whatever you don't want. So I've got these two, and they are labeled 1 and 2. They are also labeled as Arctic, which I can change here. This one's labeled Baseball 2. So they're ordered. So if I want to pull them up in a particular order, I can say pull up background 1, but I can also say pull up background Arctic. So you can do it both ways. So let's go back to the code and watch how it happens. Now notice how when I went to code, nothing came up. You do your code on your sprite. So I need to click on the cat. That's where my code is. All right. So I want to switch to the Arctic background when I start the program. So I'm going to come down, I'm going to looks, switch backdrop to, and I'm going to do Arctic. Okay. So when I click the green flag, it's going to go to the Arctic here. All right. Now I'm going to add another event. Let's look at some of the things we can do. So we can make stuff happen when a key is pressed. Now it doesn't have to be space. We can pull up any key on the keyboard. You can do all the letters, numbers, arrow keys. So it doesn't have to be space. It defaults to space, but you can change that. All right. You can make something happen when you click the sprite. So I could make it where when I click it, it starts running around the screen. When backdrop switches, I'm going to use that in just a few minutes. These you might not use quite as much. These are more interactive. There is a volume detector, and if it detects a certain volume, you can make events happen. There's a timer we'll explore soon. You can make things happen when a certain amount of time has gone by. It's really good if you're making a video, like a story or something like that. And then messages, I will get into those when we make start buttons. We'll get into making a title screen where you hit a button and the program starts. But for now, I'm not going to mess with the message stuff. It took me a while to figure out what that actually meant. I always thought it meant a message appeared on the screen. It's a little different than that. So we'll eventually get into message, but for now, let's not mess with those. All right, so I'm going to pull up the when space pressed, and I'm going to make it go to the baseball field, and I'm going to put the cat on home plate when I press space bar. So when space pressed, all right, so first I want to go to the baseball field. So that was under looks. Anything that has to do with the appearance of what you see on the screen is under the looks tab. And I want to come down to switch backdrop to, and it's already on baseball 2, but I can pick whichever one. So I want baseball 2. And let's just try it out. So I'm gonna hit the green flag. It should be on the Arctic. I hit space bar. It goes to the baseball field. I want my cat to go to home plate. Okay. And he looks a little big. So I'm going to make him a little smaller. So for looks, I'm going to set size to, and let's maybe try 50%, see what that looks like. It's a playing around game. We don't have to be precise here, but all right. So I'm going to hit space and see what happens. All right. He looks a little more reasonable. All right. I'm just going to set him right on home plate. This animation is not going to be very elaborate or realistic, but just to get our feet wet with this stuff. Now notice where his coordinates are down here. So I also want to make sure he goes to home plate when I hit spacebar. So I'm going to go to motion. Anything that places something on the screen or moves it, that's under motion. And I'm going to go to, and it's going to default to the XY coordinates that is showing up here. And if I move the cat, check this out. So if I move him to second base, the coordinates changed over here. All right. So we'll use that to our advantage. So I want him to be at home plate And let's make him go to first base. All right. So I'm going to say motion, and I'm going to say glide. We'll just keep it 1 second. And we need to get our position correct here. So the easiest way to do that, let me pull that back off. I'm just deleting that code. If I want him to go to first base, I'm going to set him on first base. Again, notice the X and Y coordinate updated. And now when I say glide 1 second too, it's already at the right coordinates. So let's hit spacebar and see if it works. Yeah, so that worked. That was good. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. Something else we can do here, if and I'm just doing this to show you how it would work. We can make an event happen when a backdrop changes. So there is I'm not under events here, when backdrop switches to Arctic. So what I could do is I could take some of this code and put it under here. So when I switch to, actually, I want to switch to baseball field. I'm going to set the cat size. I'm going to put him on home plate, and then he's going to run to first. All right. So just kind of recap what I got going on. When the green flags clicked, we're going to see the Arctic. When I tap the space bar, so when I'm ready, we switch to the baseball field. When the baseball field shows up, cat size gets set, goes to home plate, runs to first. And that's what's happening here. All right. So just make sure you can follow that progression. That's the key with all this stuff. That's the nice thing about these blocks. So let's just run that, see what happens. I hit the green flag. And the other thing I kind of don't like is I kind of want the cat to not be in the Arctic here. So I want the cat to not show up right now. I'm going to go to looks, and I'm going to put a hide on there. So when I click the green flag, the cat goes away. And maybe when I switch to the baseball field, that's when I want the cat to show up. So I'm going to put a show there. Really could go either place. It's not that important the way I've got this code done. I just pulled this second block up to show you how it would work. It's really unnecessary for what I'm doing here. All right, so I'm going to click the green flag. We go to the Arctic. Cat goes away. When I hit spacebar, we should switch to the baseball field. And when we switch to the baseball field, cat shows up. Cat size go 50%. Go to home plate. Run first. All right, here we go. All right. And if we wanted this to look more realistic, we could flip the cat around so he's not running backwards. We could make his feet move. Those are things that we can add to it once we know more about loops and timers and some of that stuff.